The world of Little Nightmares is shrouded in mystery. The storytelling methods of this series are deliberately vague. Its lore offers no clear answers. Even asking the right questions can be difficult. And if you do manage to find a clue, the answers only lead to even more questions. Monsters and the cataclysm that birthed them, the writhing biomass of eyes, organs, and flesh, adults and children alike. Wherever you look, everything is wrapped in enigma. That's why on my channel, and across YouTube in general, you'll find countless videos of creators theorizing about the nature of these phenomena, trying to unravel the secrets of the world of Little Nightmares. But among this endless cycle of unsolved mysteries and contradictions, there is one character whose story stands apart from all the others. His entire journey can be traced almost from beginning to end without diving too deep into speculation, because in his case, the truth is mostly right there on the surface, or at least that's how it seems to me. Welcome to Save Room Archives, and today we're going to uncover the full story of one of the most tragic figures in the entire Little Nightmares universe. I'll tell you about the Thin Man, the sinister servant of the signal tower, enslaving the inhabitants of the Pale City and beyond. Along the way, we'll also briefly revisit all the monsters from the second game. The story of the Thin Man cannot be separated from that of Mono, the protagonist of Little Nightmares 2, so don't be surprised if nearly half of this video focuses on the boy. Without him, the narrative would lose its coherence. Those who finished the game already know why, and those who haven't will understand by the end of this video. So grab your tranquilizers, we're diving into the nightmare. Mono's story begins with a grim dream. In it, he seems to be floating through a dark, narrow hallway. At the end of this corridor stands a door, a symbol all too familiar to anyone who's ventured into the world of nightmares. Behind it lies the Eye, the embodiment of absolute, all-consuming evil throughout the series. Mono wakes up in a dark forest, and, for reasons unknown, begins searching for a way out. His path is riddled with deadly traps, bear traps, hidden pits, and snares set by a taxidermist hunter. This man captures both animals and humans, turning them into grotesque trophies. In the hunter's lair, Mono discovers another unfortunate child, someone we already know well, Six, the main heroine of the first game. At first, the timid, distrustful girl is wary of Mono, but soon she becomes his loyal friend and ally. Together they face many horrors of this twisted world. The hunter shows no hesitation. He shoots to kill, not to capture. In their desperate attempts to escape the masked woodsman, the children stumble into a barn where an old double-barreled shotgun hangs on the wall. It's far too big and heavy for two small fugitives. But somehow, against all odds, they manage to fire the weapon, killing the hunter once and for all. After escaping the hunter, the children set off on a makeshift raft, a lone door they found lying on the shore of a lake or sea. Drifting across the dark waters, they eventually arrive at the epicenter of the game's sinister events, the Pale City. Once a thriving place, the city has transformed into a living nightmare. It is in the midst of a literal apocalypse. Its inhabitants have either vanished, become faceless zombies, or morphed into grotesque, deformed monsters stripped of reason and will. All of them are under the control of the Eye, lurking at the very heart of the Pale City. Its lair is cloaked in a massive illusion, causing the city's residents to perceive it as a broadcast tower. From this structure, a powerful signal is transmitted, one that turns people into the mindless servants of the Eye. The signal is so overwhelming that even the city itself has been warped, twisted into a distorted reflection of its former self. Buildings and streets bend at unnatural angles, and an eternal darkness hangs over the landscape. Mono discovers one of the many televisions scattered throughout the city, each one broadcasting the corrupting signal. This is the moment when his own nightmarish transformation begins, an arc that will ultimately lead to a tragic ending. When he touches the TV, Mono begins to distort the already warped signal, bending space and slowing time within the CRT's electronic glow as he struggles to reach a mysterious door marked with the symbol of the Eye. But time after time, the television violently throws him back into reality. The boy doesn't yet understand what's happening or what it means. As they make their way through the Pale City, Mono and Six enter a school. Inside, a horde of hostile porcelain children live and study. They run rampant, smashing classrooms, attacking one another, and assaulting any intruders who dare to enter their domain. However, this chaos only reigns when class is not in session. During lessons, the porcelain children fall under the iron rule of the teacher, a strict, cruel woman whose mind and body, like many others, have been warped by the signal. Her monstrous nature manifests most clearly in her physically deformed neck. She can stretch it to unnatural lengths, allowing her to reach Mono and Six with ease. She keeps her students in a state of animal-like fear, punishing those who fail to pay attention or listen carefully during her lessons by beating them mercilessly with a pointer stick. The punished children are tied to the floor and forced to draw the image of the eye. This chilling ritual suggests that the eye is not merely an abstract evil, it is worshipped like a deity within the Pale City, an ever-watchful god overseeing its enslaved inhabitants. Depictions of the eye can be found not only within the city itself, but also far beyond its borders. For example, in the shadowy corridors of the Moor, the massive ship where the events of the first Little Nightmares take place. The porcelain children prove to be more than just mischievous. They are vicious. They attack any intruders and eventually capture Six, stringing her up with ropes and mocking her helplessness. Mono manages to rescue the girl from their cruel grasp, but from this moment on, something inside her begins to change. She grows colder, more brutal, and her trust in Mono starts to fade. Even though he has saved her twice now, Six begins to see Mono as the source of their misfortunes. Her cruelty becomes increasingly evident when, with twisted delight, she kills one of the porcelain children without hesitation. The two barely escape the monstrous teacher, slipping from her grasp at the very last moment, and once again find themselves wandering the bleak streets of the Pale City. Soon after, they come across the yellow raincoat, the very same one Six will later wear during her journey through the maw. It's at this moment that the game reveals a crucial truth. Little Nightmares 2 is not a sequel, but a prequel to the first game. This shift in the timeline becomes one of the story's defining elements, setting the stage for a far darker and more enigmatic conclusion. Their journey then leads them into the hospital, one of the most terrifying locations in the Pale City. Here reigns the Doctor, an obese, sadistic figure who has transformed hundreds, perhaps thousands, of his patients into horrifying animatronic beings. Those who entrusted him with their health were turned into fully mechanical mannequins, their limbs, organs, and even heads replaced with lifeless prosthetics. In the oppressive darkness of the hospital, these unfortunate creations stand motionless, reacting violently to any movement and attacking anyone who dares to enter. The only thing that can stop these reanimated mannequins is light. Under its beam, they freeze instantly. The process of creating such abominations is truly nightmarish. The Doctor amputates the limbs of still-living patients before removing their organs, and finally, their heads. It remains unclear how these mannequins continue to exist after such complete replacement of flesh with machinery. Perhaps faint echoes, distorted remnants of their souls, persist within them, lingering after exposure to the signal. These echoes resemble twisted silhouettes of the victims scattered throughout the Pale City. The Doctor straps his patients into electric chairs and subjects them to a simulation of the broadcast signal, forcibly ripping out their souls and turning them into these echoes. He then somehow implants them into the mannequins he creates, giving them a flickering, corrupted semblance of life. Mono has the ability to absorb these echoes, strengthening himself in the process. Why he can do this, and what purpose it serves, will become clear later. Some of the amputated body parts in the hospital have a life of their own. As Mono and Six progress through the building, they encounter living severed hands, scuttling across the floors like grotesque spiders. The Doctor is also involved in the creation of masks, hideous yet eerily human-like faces. It's possible that he sells these masks to other monsters who wish to preserve some semblance of humanity. Such masks are used, for example, by the twin chefs and the janitor aboard the Moor in the first game. No matter how carefully Mono and Six move, the Doctor eventually discovers them. In a tense chase sequence, the children lure him into the crematorium and burn him alive. Once again, Six reveals her dark side, She warms her hands over the furnace where the doctor's body is still burning, as if savoring the aroma of roasted human flesh. Escaping from the hospital and climbing to the rooftop, the children finally see the source of the signal, the transmission tower. It is this tower that drives the city's inhabitants to unthinkable acts. One by one, they step off rooftops to their deaths, obediently answering the call of the broadcast. On these same streets, Mono and Six encounter faceless, zombie-like citizens staring blankly at television screens. If a TV is turned off, they erupt in violent rage. If there's another active screen nearby, they rush toward it mindlessly, even if it leads them straight to their deaths. One particular television becomes a turning point for Mono and Six. This time, the boy manages to reach the door marked with the symbol of the eye and opens it. He probably shouldn't have. Behind the door awaits the Thin Man. The moment he sees Mono, he launches into a relentless pursuit. Mono can use televisions to travel between reality and the world beyond the screen, and the Thin Man possesses this power too. He literally emerges from the TV, beginning an unstoppable chase. Eventually, he catches up to the children inside a room and abducts Six, disappearing with her into the signal's domain. At first, it seems like the Thin Man is simply another powerful monster, indifferent to whom he hunts. But hidden beneath this pursuit lies a temporal paradox. Mono and the Thin Man are one and the same being, existing simultaneously at different points in time throughout the game. Here's the truth. Mono's ability to absorb echoes of children enslaved by the eye isn't a random gift. Even before becoming the Thin Man, he already is the Thin Man, just not yet fully realized. By absorbing enough of the signal's power, Mono grows stronger than his future self. This leads to an inevitable confrontation on the main boulevard of the Pale City, directly in front of the transmission tower. The two mirror each other's abilities perfectly, but Mono ultimately proves to be stronger. He defeats his future self, the Thin Man, and enters the tower. In truth, the transmission tower is not a building at all. It's an illusion, something the human eye interprets as a familiar shape. In reality, it is either an entirely different dimension or the living, organic body of the eye itself, the source of the devastating television signal. Inside, Mono discovers Six, but she is no longer the girl he once knew. She has been twisted and transformed into a monster, enslaved by the eye through her most cherished possession, the music box she played with when Mono first found her in the hunter's house. It's clear that the eye uses beloved objects to enslave its victims. Mono quickly realizes that destroying the music box is the key to freeing Six and restoring her original form. At first, this insight may seem sudden, but if we remember that Mono is the Thin Man, it makes sense. He either consciously or subconsciously draws upon the knowledge of his future self. When Mono destroys the music box and liberates Six, the eye is enraged. It reveals its true form, a shapeless, pulsating mass of eyes, organs, flesh, and blood. Here, the eye's purpose becomes clear. It doesn't simply enslave or transform people into monsters. It consumes those it cannot control, integrating them into its own living mass. With each victim absorbed, it grows ever larger, becoming a grotesque, unfathomable entity. The eye tries to prevent Mono and Six from escaping, and just when freedom seems within their grasp, Six betrays Mono, letting go of his hand and leaving him trapped inside the tower. But the eye doesn't kill him. Instead, it transforms Mono into its new monster, its chief servant, the Thin Man. How long this horrific transformation takes is unknown. Inside the tower, time and space are twisted beyond recognition. It's unclear whether any time passes outside at all. Eventually, Mono completes his transformation and becomes caught in a space-time loop. He sees a door open before him, and beyond it stands a boy, himself, Mono. Consumed by the desperate urge to prevent the boy from becoming what he has become, he gives chase. He sees Six again, the same girl he helped, saved from death again and again, yet she betrayed him, dooming him to this fate. He captures her and hands her over to the eye, which transforms her into the monstrous, music box-bound servant we encounter earlier. It is an act of revenge, carried out by Mono as the Thin Man. Later, he confronts his past self on the main boulevard of the Pale City, and loses. The boy is younger, stronger. Mono is defeated by himself. After this, the boy enters the tower, frees 6, is betrayed, becomes the Thin Man, and the cycle repeats. This is the horrifying, inescapable temporal loop in which neither Mono nor the Thin Man can break free. The attempt to prevent his transformation is precisely what causes it. He exists simultaneously in past, present, and future, trapped in an eternal circle of rebirth. The eye always wins. Each time a new monster is born to serve as its agent, a conduit of its will. And what about 6? She escapes and eventually reaches the Maw, where the events of the first game unfold. Mono, however, is doomed. He becomes an eternal slave of the all-seeing eye, a vessel for its will in the dark world of little nightmares. And that is everything we know about the tragic story of Mono and the Thin Man. My channel is less than a month old, so every like and subscription means the world to me. Thank you for watching. I'll be waiting for you in the Save Room archives. And may all creepy stuff pass you by.